Hi, my name is Angeline Hannachi. I'm a BIS student at George Mason University. My field of interdisciplinary study is sustainable business management, and my concentration is on climate change and renewable energy. My current job role is Senior Project Engineer for Vanguard Energy Partners, a solar EPC based in Branchburg, New Jersey. This is a photo of me at my Riverside Solar Project, a 7 megawatt DC, 5 megawatt AC utility scale solar farm in Augusta, Maine. This project is scheduled for commissioning, otherwise known as turning the power plant on June 9th of this year. This is one of five megawatt AC projects that I'm working on in Maine. This is my capstone presentation exploring the benefits and challenges of agrivoltaic adoption. Please enjoy. Climate change is undoubtedly one of the greatest challenges of our time. With just under 8 billion people inhabiting the planet and a projection of just under 10 billion by 2050, Earth's already scarce resources will come under even greater strain as the exploding population demands more food, energy, and water, which will further exacerbate the issue. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, to prevent global warming over 1.5 degrees Celsius, renewables must supply 70 to 80% of electricity by 2050. Moore, O'Leary et al. Point out that widespread utility-scale solar energy development will have significant impacts on land, especially previously undisturbed land. The demand, both from a policy level and at an economic level, is driving development into land that could pose use conflicts with agricultural use or create not in my backyard conflicts, otherwise known as NIMBY. For my capstone project, I studied the emerging concept of agrivoltaics, which is the co-location of solar and agriculture. I'm currently in Maine for work, assisting with the construction of 5 traditional utility-scale solar projects, and had the opportunity to do a case study on Mesa's Pond Farm, a 4.2 megawatt agrivoltaic farm that's based in Rockport, Maine, just an hour east of where one of my current projects is based. Last weekend, I took a trip out to Rockport to hike up Beach Hill Preserve, a small mountain nearby that overlooks the array. Upon ascent, it turned out to be too foggy to get pictures, but I ended up meeting a trio of hikers who I later had the opportunity of sitting down and chatting about my project with. Here, you'll hear my candid conversation with Noah, Sarah, and Jenny over dinner, during which I explain my disciplinary rationale, a brief overview of the literature, and the problem that we face as a society in regards to our food, energy, and water systems, and how climate change will further impact these systems. I hope you'll enjoy our conversation.
Okay, so sustainability. I worked in remodeling, and got to where it like just killed my soul. I remember if I can find the picture, I'm gonna include it. With this cup that was recessed into a wall. It was like this beautiful stainless steel cup, and it would turn, like you would push it and it would turn, and then you would grab the cup, and it was a bathroom remodel that I was doing, and I was like, and I remember going in and like it was a perfectly good bathroom. I wanted a different color, right? So we're ripping out this bathroom, and I remember ripping out these like recessed turny cup things, and it was the most interesting thing that what am I going to do with them? I'm going to put them on the curb, and it's going to go to a landfill.
Yeah.
Right?
Keep it.
Yeah, and I did actually keep it, and I took a picture of it and kept it. I don't know what I did with it at this point, but I did. I know I did. Yeah, I think maybe I marketplace them or something like that. But like, this is a beautiful little thing, and like someone produced this, and it's like the more that I would rip, an entire kitchen out or an entire bathroom out, and put it in a landfill, it would just kill my soul. So I kind of like caught this sustainability bug like years ago, and I'm like, I don't like this. So finally in 2019, I decided that I wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
38 years old, and I'm hitting the reset button on my entire career after working in one industry for 15 years. And so I set 3 career objectives. I worked kind of more in a sales capacity, design sales capacity,
Sales,
was burned out on sales, didn't want to do sales, wanted to be like more full, like project management. First and foremost, I wanted to work doing something sustainable. And initially I thought, since I already worked in like buildings and like the built structure, then I got my lead green associate certification, and I'm like, okay, I'll do, project management for lead buildings, right? Yeah. And so that was kind of my idea then. And then my third thing was that I wanted to transition. Again, I'd always worked residential. I wanted to get out of residential and into something like commercial. Okay, so again, large scale, like high rises that are doing it to LEED standards. So that was kind of my dream job at that particular moment in my life. Okay, like knowing what I knew, right? So I go back to school to finish up. And,
get LEED certified.
Well, no, I did the LEED certified in addition going back to school. Okay. Yeah. So it was just like a thing where I was like, oh, okay, like it's easy enough to get that certification. I just do some reading and like sit for the test, right? So like within 3 months, I was able to study and get that certification because I felt like it was an easy way to be able to appeal to prospective employers who were looking, in the sustainability field, right? Yeah.
Totally.
So. Okay, so then that same kind of time frame that I started back to school, I was in a brewery back home talking to a guy that he was like the business development guy for a local solar company. And he's like, hey, we're looking for a project manager. I'm like, I am your gal.
That's awesome.
He's like, well, we're doing residential. I'm like, that's fine. I will still endure residential, but at least it's a project manager role, and it's in like solar. That's sustainable.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I don't know if I want to like stay in solar, but at least it's foot in the door. Okay?
Yeah.
And then I ended up actually really falling in love with renewables. Okay. So I worked for them for a couple of years, all the time going to school. Okay. So I was taking classes. Again, it's a BIS program, so it's like kind of choose your own adventure degree program.
Yep.
So I could pick like anything that kind of sort of made sense. So taking like sustainable business and energy policy. So I took an energy policy class. Okay. Because I work in renewables, so like I should take an energy policy class, right? So I take an energy policy class. This was like in the middle of COVID. We were doing it online. The instructor for this energy policy class was absolutely amazing. Like she had worked like in renewables in Japan. She, the way that she structured this class, she had to like switch gears mid-COVID and like go from like an in-person class to like an online. And the value and the connections that I made through her class were just, amazing.
Awesome.
So then I'm like looking for other classes like the next semester, and she's like, well, hey, I teach this food, energy, water nexus class. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm really only concerned about energy, but fine. Okay, I'll take this too. Well, then taking her class, I realized how interconnected these three systems are.
Right.
And that is our major problem, right? Is that everything is siloed. We have an energy department that does not talk to our water department, that does not talk to our agricultural department, and they're all pulling from the same resources.
Right. Nobody communicates.
And no one communicates.
They're all competing instead of...
it's all, exactly, they're competing for the same, they're all contributors to climate change. And so it was just like, oh my gosh, wow. Like, so then I got like, okay, well, then I delved into the agricultural system. At the same time, so this was the beginning of last year, 2021. I had to take a break from running because I was injured, and so I was focusing on strength training, and so I started training for a bodybuilding competition. I ended up doing a bodybuilding competition last year, and I was training for that, and so I'm having to track like literally everything that I'm eating and consuming. Okay, and then meanwhile I'm taking this food, energy, water nexus class. So it's like I'm like literally like everything in my life is food related. Yeah, exactly. I would watch Netflix documentaries on food. It was like my food porn while I'm eating my my chicken and rice and broccoli. Yeah, exactly. I come across Mike. Do you know who Michael Pollan is?
No.
Okay, so he's a journalist and he does a lot of documentaries and he writes books on the agricultural industry. So he writes this book called The Omnivore's Dilemma. Okay, and in the book, he does a deep dive into 4 different ways of sourcing food. Okay, so you've got your industrial agricultural system, which is basically part of our demise. From a third of greenhouse gases comes from the agricultural industry. Okay, so like you have the organic food industry, which is basically like the industrial.
Does that take into account shipping almonds from California?
It's all the
Or is
things.
that
It's
just-
all the things. It's like it's the transportation, it's the fertilizer, it's even like the tillage from agricultural practices, which is actually emitting carbon. So
Right.
not only are like fossil fuels emitting carbon, but when we go and till soil, it also emits the carbon.
Right.
So the soil, the carbon that's like naturally in the soil, it's being released through tillage. So it's
Right.
that's
Like
contributing, you know.
hydrofracking
Yeah.
releases gas.
Right, exactly, yeah, and another greenhouse gas, yeah, exactly. So yeah, by all measures, and of course you have the livestock industry that, the way that we produce livestock is, producing, methane and,
Well,
but even the
Florida's
rest,
wall water issues with the sugarcane runoff.
there's all these negative impacts of our agricultural industry. It's just like our energy. It's all centralized, right? You pack everything into this condensed point, and the ecosystem can't absorb that. Like it can't deal with it.
Well, it's like
because
going to the
it's-
grocery store. You get a small amount of food, and it comes with 3 pounds of packaging.
Yeah,
But it's
exactly.
that
Yeah.
on a whole
And all that requires
society.
fossil fuels to produce. Exactly, right? Okay. So, and even like food waste. Like a third of the food that gets produced actually gets wasted, and that goes into a landfill. You have the energy and the water
Right. That it
was
took to
used
produce, and then it
produce
breaks
that,
down
and that yeah, exactly.
releases,
Exactly, yeah. So, so the organic food industry is maybe just a little bit better. In fact, that they have like, so you're like, hey, okay, you can use
Less
pesticides,
chemicals,
you
but the same
slightly less
process.
chemicals, but same process, okay?
Well, they're not.
So it's only slightly better, but the third one is regenerative agriculture. So regenerative agriculture is where you're allowing, nature. You're going back to the way that like nature is supposed to produce food.
Oh,
So you're
cycles,
reintegrating. You're reintegrating livestock. So the problem is that we have our livestock industry completely separate from everything. Get big, yeah. You have all your corn in one place. You have all of your livestock in another place. You have all your chicken in another place, and so you have all these like segregated they're not even ecosystems. They're just like everything.
Individual
Exactly.
systems, yeah.
So if you reintegrate these systems, then they can work together as a cohesive whole more holistically, right? Helps to promote biodiversity. Helps to filter the land.
Fertilize the land.
Helps to draw carbon back into the soil. So it's a form of soil carbon sequestration was actually something I wanted to research. So that's one food system that he highlights in his book, and then the last one being hunter gatherer.
Oh,
And
Well,
that is
venison's
like
delicious.
the most sustainable way of procuring your food is to go out and hunt it.
Yeah.
Go out and
Fish.
fish.
Yeah.
Go out and and gather your food.
Yeah.
And so I guess ever since I've read his book, so at some point while reading his book, I guess before I got to the end of it, I was like, I had this like little existential crisis. I was like, am I gonna have to become a vegan in order to be a sustainable human being? We talked about regenerative agriculture, and I was like, okay, well then at least if I like try to source my meat from a sustainable source, then I feel a little bit better. Like try to
venison is
like
the most
grass-fed
lean meat that you can get.
Yeah, that or like grass-fed beef or grass-fed buffalo, and like free-range chicken. Anyway, so the food energy water nexus class, it was the same instructor, got interested in food, got interested in agriculture, wanted to like figure out how to promote sustainable systems both from an agricultural standpoint and from an energy standpoint. Like they have to work together, okay? My instructor, her name is Dr. Jen. She has been my faculty advisor for my capstone project, and she was the one that she was like, "Hey, you know what? You should really research agrivoltaics. You work in solar, so you should."
Is your professor?
This is my professor who she became my faculty advisor for my capstone project, and so she kind of influenced like what I would research because I was like all over the place. And she was like,
such a broad topic.
"Yeah, it is. Yeah." So she's like, hone in on agrivoltaics. That's the up and coming thing. So that's what got me interested in it. So fast forward, like that's what I'm doing my project on, and that's why I'm here tonight.
Awesome.
Meeting my people.
Awesome.
Yes. So there we go.
Agrivoltaics holds considerable promise in providing solutions to help address climate change, maintain domestic food security, improve the income of farmers and farm owners, and even provide environmental justice benefits. However, there are inherent challenges that have so far prevented widespread adoption of agrivoltaics. The study seeks to ascertain the economic, social, and socio-political benefits and challenges inherent in the adoption of agrivoltaics. The objective of this work is to provide solutions to economic and operational barriers such that more widespread adoption of agrivoltaic technology is viable. According to a recent study in the journal Nature Food, it's estimated that a third of all human-induced greenhouse gases are caused by the agricultural sector through a combination of fossil fuel-based production equipment, energy use, and the use of fossil fuel-based fertilizer. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, the electricity sector, the second largest producer of greenhouse gases, accounts for a quarter of all GHGs. Both the agricultural and energy sectors require water for production, the former accounting for 42% of all freshwater withdrawals, while the latter accounts for 41%, according to a 2015 USGS study. The potential benefits of agrivoltaics are reduced land conflict with the agricultural sector. For instance, a 2020 study by Oregon State University concluded that the U.S. could reach its renewable energy targets if just 1% of farmland was converted to agrivoltaics. Increased water efficiency. In fact, one study by ADE in 2018 observed a 328% increase in water efficiency of the soil under the solar modules, which would be ideal for semi-arid climates, especially as climate change continues to create more areas of drought. Economic benefit to farmers. Zing 2021 concluded that even lighting agrivoltaic systems has the potential to increase farmers' income by an average of 5.14 times over that of non-agrivoltaic systems, and even an improvement in crop quality. Improved carbon sequestration. Perennials and grasses, which have longer root systems, sequester carbon better than some crops and could provide the opportunity for the sale of carbon credits on top of electricity generation provided by the agrivoltaics. The American Solar Grazing Association points out the benefits of solar grazing, which include further reduction of greenhouse gases by obviating the need for mowing equipment, improvement of water and soil quality, and the economic benefits of developing the U.S. agricultural workforce. Despite the potential benefits, challenges do exist in the widespread adoption of agrivoltaics. For instance, not all types of crops are favorable to the shading from photovoltaic panels. Furthermore, farmers are concerned about the impacts to long-term land productivity and planning, market uncertainty and lack of observed benefits, and compatibility with their current farming practices. From an operations and maintenance standpoint, pairing plants with photovoltaics presents further challenges. If not properly managed, plants growing in the electrical components of solar systems could cause shortages and system outages, causing economic impacts to the owners of these systems. For my methods, I conduct my case study of Mace's Pond Farm. I contacted the developer of the project, Alan Robertson, with Blue Wave Solar, a solar development firm based in Boston, Massachusetts. I also contacted the lead scientist for the project, Dr. Lily Caldwell of the Extension Wild Blueberry, a specialist and assistant professor of horticulture at the University of Maine in Orono, Maine. Mr. Robertson provided a description of the initial challenges that his firm faced with the development of the project, financial data that speaks to the economic challenges of agrivoltaic development, and a tour of the farm. Dr. Caldwell provided me with the project's first year of data. I reviewed the policy and incentive programs related to renewable energy adoption in Maine, as well as Massachusetts, a close neighbor state and one known for having more robust incentives for agrivoltaic adoption. To gain an understanding of current research being conducted in the fields of renewable energy adoption and agrivoltaics, I reviewed the U.S. Department of Energy Inspire project, which is conducting research in various sectors, including industry, academia, and national laboratories. Despite the number of public relations type articles, one even announcing the Mace's Pond project as Solar Builder Project of the Year, I was not able to find any published data. Although because the site had been recently commissioned, I anticipated that might not be available. I was able to find information pertaining to the project developer, Blue Wave Solar, and what's somewhat interesting about Mace's Farm is that Mr. Robertson received the lead through a direct mailer to the farmer that owned the land on which the project is located. He pointed out that the farmer was only willing to entertain the idea of solar development on his farm so long as they could maintain the blueberry crops beneath the array. Mainers are very serious about their wild blueberries. Blue Wave Solar saw this as a great opportunity to study and promote agrivoltaics in the state of Maine, a practice that is prevalent in Massachusetts, Pioneering an agrivoltaic project in Maine was a crucial first step in promoting policy in the state to further drive adoption. Mr. Robertson further noted that while it was a challenge to pencil out the project from a financial standpoint, the concept sat well with the community surrounding Mace's Pond and could very well have been the catalyst for the project to succeed. Blue Wave worked with the University of Maine Wild Blueberry Extension to conduct much needed research to ascertain the viability of pairing wild blueberry crops with solar. Dr. Calderwood points out that on the surface, the cost-benefit analysis of developing agrivoltaic farms in Maine does not often pan out due to the need for elevated racking and sparser placement of modules to allow light to penetrate to the crops below. According to her research, farmers are being offered $2,500 an acre for solar development, double the $1,200 an acre income for blueberry harvests. Without the incentives that are to offset the additional material costs, coupled with reduced production capacity, it makes more financial sense to landowners and solar developers to simply lease or sell the land for purely solar development. However, because of the short stature of wild blueberries, elevating the racking was not necessarily essential so long as they could be harvested either with custom farm equipment or by hand. As part of the agreement between Blue Wave and the farm owner, a deal was made for the cost of the custom farm equipment to be covered by the developer. Also covered is the cost of building a storage structure to house the custom farm equipment. Additionally, the developer is covering the cost of the 5-year research being conducted by the University of Maine. The array is situated on 40 acres of south-facing land near Mace's Pond in Rockport, Maine. 12 acres of this is devoted to Dr. Calderwood's research project, and it was divided into different construction categories to ascertain what level of construction method modifications would be needed to develop the solar while also protecting the crops in the process. The 3 categories were designated standard, mindful, and careful. Standard construction methods were unmodified from typical solar industry standards, which meant that heavy construction equipment such as excavators, skid loaders, and ground screw drills were allowed to drive in this area. In the area designated as mindful, equipment had to keep to a specified path and could only rotate 90 degrees to avoid excessive land disturbance and risk damaging the crops. Foot traffic was relegated to specific paths as well. In the careful section, additional care was used to protect the crops to best extent possible. This included placing polymats on top of the blueberry plants for foot traffic and equipment to drive on. However, the polymats had to be frequently rotated, beginning with 4-week intervals during the spring and progressed to every day into the summer, adding to labor costs and construction lead time. The workers also had to undergo special blueberry protection training prior to being authorized to work on the site. All said and done, Mr. Robertson indicated that the total added construction cost for his agrivoltaic project fell within a 0.065 cent per watt adder, which amounted to roughly $273,000. The analysis of the study concluded that, as predicted, the standard and mindful construction areas have far more soil compaction overall than the careful area. Soil moisture measurements conclude that the panels may help to increase soil moisture content, a much needed benefit as Maine has been experiencing droughts caused by climate change. In terms of stem density, Dr. Calderwood points out that careful section shows the greatest stem density of all plots. Based on this knowledge, thus far it is predicted that the methods used to protect the plants under careful construction methods help to preserve the health of the crops. Conclusion. The objective of this Capstone project was to discover the benefits and challenges of agrivoltaic adoption from an economic, social, and socio-political standpoint. Energy policy is a complex topic, and no technology is free of trade-offs. In order to move away from the use of fossil fuel-based technology such as coal and gas, all forms of clean, renewable energy need to be deployed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and continue to maintain and increase energy security. Utility-scale solar farms have the potential to threaten food security if the right policies are not in place to prevent the widespread conversion of farmland to solar development. On the other hand, biodiversity is threatened with deforestation and clearing of sites for solar development. Wind technology also threatens biodiversity and poses land conflicts, while hydrotechnology has other environmental impacts to marine life and freshwater supply. Agrivoltaic technology has the potential to help address climate change, food security, and water security. Thank you. Thank you for watching and listening. If you are a solar developer or farmer or even a homeowner installing a ground mount system, I hope you will consider going agrivoltaic. Thank you.